you, Burmaji. And firstly, thank you, everyone. And I hope few people might be smiling a bit more. This is a celebratory day, I feel. I know it's hard on these Zoom calls because we're all in these boxes and we're not with each other and we don't feel the energy. But I'm very delighted to join this call. I was pleased to hear what Padmaji said earlier and also to hear from you, Professor Nazari. Thank you for taking the time, and to everybody who's joined this call on this day, which is United Nations International Yoga Day. And yes, this APPG, and I want to recognize Amarjit and his efforts with lots of support over the last 10 years. Forgive me, I haven't been supporting you for 10 years, but then I only joined the House of Lords last year. So I joined as soon as I could to this APPG because um, it's important. It's important. There are lots of important things in life I'm sure we all have to do. Our work, our pressures, obviously our families are very high, but ourselves and the world around us, if we don't stay in tune, I personally, this is a very personal feeling, no political statements to be made because we are in an election, but from a personal sense, I think there's always something we can do. And as a person of Indian ancestry, but born and bred in Britain, sometimes we find that we can lose track and touch of some of the teachings that come from India, but teachings that have spread around the world. And I have to admit, my lack of awareness of yoga was quite a lot till only just about 4 or 5 years ago when I started practicing. Mainly because I fell down some stairs and hurt my back, and traditional medicine was telling me things that I didn't think were going to help. So it was recommended to, practice some yoga. And that has led me on a very early baby steps into the foothills of learning. But I think the work that everybody does, the support that everyone gives to the efforts that you're all doing is so important. And why do I say that? And I do have a little bit of a, let's call it political society hat on when I say this. We all know that the world is getting ever harder for us to live in. And what do I mean by that is just the pressures around us, the challenge of the digital world, the challenge of media, the challenge of all the noise around us. And I see this also not just for myself, but through the prism for my family, my friends, my children, my parents, everyone. And we also hear from everybody that people feel more physically challenged. There tends to be more illnesses. And let's say the eruption in mental health challenges that we see. And when you look for solutions, we can all look at, pills and chemicals and all that kind of that are appropriate at times. But I look at yoga and I think, well, this is something that, through thousands of years has helped people. Why aren't we reaching out for this more? And I think the biggest challenge that I feel personally that we face is an understanding of what yoga is and what it can do for you. But I have to say, on the flip side, there's a real positive thing because I also see a lot more of people practicing yoga. But I want to call this yoga light, not yoga, because I personally, I'm probably a little bit guilty of this. I will go to my local sports center. I will do at least 2 or 3 yoga practices a week, but they're more classes of physical structure and so on and so forth. I feel we miss out on a lot of what there is also to do in terms of yoga. I don't feel I get to understand the history. I don't feel I get to understand the science as was being mentioned. I feel I don't get to understand the full benefits, but I think there is more to come. And I think a lot of the work that everybody who is involved and supports what is happening here is about helping people not just get the yoga light, but get a bit more of what I would call the full fat benefit of yoga. Because there is so much that it can help, and so many ways in which it can help people. So look, as I say, it's a delight to be part of the APPG, to support the efforts and work that Bamraji and everybody else does in my way as a parliamentarian in the House of Lords. I will continue to be a humble practitioner, and continue to learn. I hope to learn a lot slowly in the years to come. And I hope that we can share that with other people and just provide the benefits that we all know we can achieve. And I wish you all very, very good health, and please do carry on. And I'm just delighted to be part of this today. Forgive me, I will be able to stay on the call for another 10, 15 minutes, but thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, Lord Ranger, thank you so much. And as I said, without the support of, a very strong voice, from parliamentarians like you and Baroness Verma and Vrinder Sharma ji, Bob Blackman ji, and all the rest of the team, we would not be able to do what we're doing. So I'm absolutely humbly grateful for your continued benevolence and your support and your blessings. Thank you so much. We were waiting for a Czech parliamentarian to arrive, but I think she's having some difficulty in connecting. So what I like to do is I've got my wonderful friends here sitting here with me, and so I have been their guest here for the last 3 or 4 days, and you'll be very happy to know that yesterday. We had the privilege to visit the Czech Parliament. And so Thomas, this wonderful gentleman sitting here, is walking Lord Ranger in the same direction as I walked, 10 years ago, and he has been very consistent and visiting our meetings, our APPG meetings in London, and of course some in the European Union in Brussels. And so yesterday was the first meeting where there was a delegation of some deputies, members of parliament from the Czech Republic. And so for them to consider setting up a similar unit where they can focus on the inclusion of traditional and complementary medicine into their health architecture, as what we are trying to do in the UK. So I'm very delighted to invite Thomas here, who says actually he should be he should be but I'm very delighted that he's here with me, and I want to ask him to say a few words. And before he does that, I just also want to show the backbone of this organization here, and this is Ludmila. And without her, this place, I think, would have difficulty in running. And this here is Markita, and they are both, members of, his organization, which is basically an organization here in Prague called the Biotronic Center, and he also leads the Institute of Traditional and Complementary Integrated Medicine. So, Thomas.
Yes, děkuji za úvod.